Do you have a controlled mind, or do you find yourself sometimes drifting? Are you always focused, or you only do things sometimes when you're motivated? What is your mental state? Because a lot of times when people drift, it's very subtle. And if you drift long enough, you get so far from the person that who you truly are, you don't even recognize yourself anymore. You settle into this new character or this new avatar that you've created for yourself. And that person is your representative and it goes out into the world. But an undisciplined mind will wreck your future. It is not something that is mandatory, it is necessary. Because if you're not controlling your thoughts, then your thoughts is controlling you. Daily, do you have clear goals, clear actions? Or are you consumed by what people have done to you, things in the past? Are you more focused on revenge, regret, trying to get back at somebody for what they did to you? Or shutting yourself off from the world, becoming an introvert because you can't deal with society? You can't deal with reality around you because you have trained your mind to view yourself in a certain manner, and you told yourself that being away from people is safety. Are you a person who's just stuck behind a keyboard, a screen, scrolling all day on your phone because you don't want to engage with the things that's important in your life that will get you to your destiny? If you lack discipline, is the bridge between desire and your success. But if you don't have discipline, then that thing that you desire would never come to fruition. Reality is set up. This is how God set it up. Regardless if you're a person that's in or outside of the church, if you're a person that believes, if you remember the centurion soldier, God was amazed by his great faith. The centurion soldier said, if you just say the word, I know that that servant will be healed. Jesus was amazed by so great faith. And he even said it to the crowd, I haven't found one person in Israel who has such great faith as this person here. That is a universal standard. When it comes to success, there's a standard. When it comes to your faith, there's a standard. When it comes to hope, there's a standard. Standards does not lower itself because of individuals. You need to be able to reach that standard to enable that thing to be unlocked, what you're looking for. Now, this is not something that is subjective. This is almost like a universal law that cannot be broken. It's either you condition yourself to think on a certain level so you can achieve that thing that you've been looking for all your life. If it's happiness, if it's joy, if it's financial freedom, if it's losing weight, if it's starting a business. It's not going to happen from a person who has an undisciplined mind, a person who's lazy, a person who doesn't even try. You can't condition your mind to always fall behind or hide behind excuses. Well, I can't. You hear sometimes people will litany of reasons why they can't do something. Now, I'm not talking about those outliers who have a legitimate reason, if it's medical or something else, for why they can't do something. I'm not talking about those individuals, but I'm talking about people like yourself, including me, because I didn't always have this mindset. When I was dealing with, if it's marital issues, financial issues, spiritual issues, weight issues, health issues, regardless of whatever the situation may be, I had to come to realize that I can't blame, it's easy to blame somebody outside of yourself. It's always easy. You know why? Because that's the path of less resistance. Because when you point the finger somewhere else, then it's incumbent for them to change. But you remove all of it from yourself. But when you turn the mirror back on yourself and you finally see the person that you really are, then you will have to come to grips with yourself and say, you know what? In order for what I'm seeing to change, then I have to change my modus operandi, the way I think. And when you're honest with yourself, that's the first step. The second step is now doing actionable things to bring forth that change. It doesn't have to be big things, small steps. If you're a person that's dealing with weight issue, small steps. Remove certain type of foods from your diet that's causing you to be in your current situation. Small steps. Then add on to that. Maybe you're the type of person that needs to move more, go on your daily walks. Then add on to that. Maybe you need to start going to the gym so you can start building more muscle. The more muscle you have, the more fat you burn. And if you repeat those small steps from day to day, it will bring forth change. If this stuff is easy, of course not. But it doesn't have to be impossible. It's not easy from this perspective because you have to change your approach. But you already have what you need. You already have consistency and you already have discipline. Let me prove it to you. If somebody who is out of shape, overweight, that did not happen from eating one cheeseburger or eating one pint of Haagen-Dazs. That is something that has to be done daily, repeatedly, over a long period of time. In order for that person to get from a state where they was relatively slim or in shape, somebody who is type 2 diabetes or overshape or overweight or obese. So if you use that same approach and start eating up other type of foods and now do the opposite of that thing is antithetical to what you're currently doing and apply discipline and consistency to that, then you will get that type of result. Someone who is more fit, someone who is more aesthetic, someone who's in shape. Everybody in life have it. So to change that pattern, you need to change that behavior and apply that same level of consistency to the other thing that you're trying to accomplish. That is it. It's all a mindset. But you have to ask yourself the question. Are you controlling your mind, your thoughts, or is your thoughts controlling you? You might have a tendency when you get upset, you throw things at people, right? I don't know, maybe your wife or your husband, whatever the case may be. But if you recognize that that's something that you're doing when you get upset, then before you throw that thing, you can easily stop. Before you speak in a certain language when you upset, cursing people out, you can easily stop. But this is what happens when we train our mind over and over again to follow a specific pattern of thought. Just like you trained your mind to develop that way of thinking and then expressing itself when you physically do something or actively do something, you can change those things. You don't have to be stuck always in that. Nobody does. Don't let somebody convince you that you are just the way you are. No. Who said that? You wasn't born that way as a child. It's based off of your environment, based off of the things you was exposed to. You started to think a certain way. And those constant thoughts became a part of your character. That's all that happened. And that character is what people see out in the world when you manifest certain traits and behavior in front of people. But you don't have to stay that way. Yes, sometimes you're going to have to remove yourself from certain people because those people will have a negative effect on the way you think. Sometimes you're going to have to remove yourself from a certain environment. Yes, we all will have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable because at the beginning, with anything you're trying to change, it's always a struggle because you're so used to doing things a certain way, which is fine, but it doesn't mean that it's impossible. Anytime you feel yourself struggling or having a hard time doing something, you have to realize that old person in you that you're trying to kill, still trying to take dominance in your life. That's all that's happening. And when you can recognize that, then you can then decide, am I going to allow my old self to have its way in this moment? Or I'm still going to press on and do things a different way. But if you're mindful of that, regardless of whatever situation that you're in, each moment is defined by a choice. And it's during that choice and that moment which decide which part of your character you're going to allow to dominate. You always don't have to allow that thing that's in you, that's been controlling your life for so long, to have the final say. But as soon as you recognize that it is a problem and you need to change it, then you can do something about it. But you have to live in objectivity. You can't keep on turning your eye to things that you're doing and it's wrong. But because it's comfortable, because it's easy, that's why you do it. It's safe, it's familiar. But if that lifestyle or that mindset was something that you needed to have to get you to where you was going, you would have been there already. Because being safe Being lethargic, being lackadaisical, it doesn't teach you patience. It doesn't teach you consistency. It doesn't teach you discipline. It doesn't teach you those core pillars of your character that you need to have, and especially faith, in order to achieve the things that you need to achieve. Because you might have two people that failed at something. The first person, they're devastated. They don't know what to do. They go within themselves in a shell and they shut a lot of things out. They're depressed. The second individual, they look at it from a very objective way. And they said, hey, I just realized that the way I did it, that's not the way to do it. So next time, I'm going to try a different approach. Same situations, two different mindsets. That's the mindset you need to have. Don't let everything just beat you down. It didn't work out. So what? Try something else. When we go through different challenges in life, it's to build our character. So when we find ourselves in difficult situations, we know how to conduct ourselves in terms of coming up with a better solution to the problem and not getting emotionally out of whack where we can't think rational and we default to an irrational way of approaching our problems. To change it, if you keep on going the same direction, you're going to always wind up at the same destination. But if you're trying to get to a specific destination, then you're going to have to go a different direction. There's no other way. Take some time to develop your character. Read or expose yourself to other different type of material that's going to challenge you intellectually. It's going to sharpen you intellectually. Because if you keep on thinking the same way you're thinking and you don't replace those thoughts with different and better thoughts, then you're going to keep on getting the same type of outcome. It is extremely possible. It's not going to always be easy. We all get that. But it doesn't have to be impossible. As long as you don't stop, then you will get there. But the day you stop, the day you will quit, that's the day you quit, your outcome is set. But if you want to have a better outcome for your future self, because one day you don't want to be that person, and I'm pretty sure you heard this a lot of times throughout life. I wish if I could do it all over again. That's your future self talking. So if you want your future self to thank you right now in this moment, start making the actual changes that you need to do today. You don't want to wait until your 50s, 60s, and 70s. I'm not saying that the door's closed, that it's all over when you get there. No, I'm not saying that. But it's much harder. Procrastination is very expensive. Delaying the things that you're supposed to do is very expensive. When you're younger, take care of those things now. You don't want to wait until you have a family, you have a mortgage, and all these things on top of you when you have other responsibilities, other liabilities that you have to deal with. Then what? Because believe me, when you're working full time, you're trying to run a business, or if you're doing social media and all the stuff that I'm doing, time is not something you can take for granted. Every second, it seems like, of your day has to be accounted for. You really don't even have a second to take a 5-minute nap. Why? Because there's so much stuff that you must get done in order for one day for you to be able to relax. Because life is set up this way. And I'm going to make this last point before I go. If you don't put in all the work up front, studying hard, making the sacrifice, life will find a way. If you skipped it when you was younger, you was cutting class and all that stuff, no problem. Life is going to find a way that it's going to get its due. Because if you got to put in all that work later in life, when you working 2 or 3 jobs, just so you can live in a certain type of neighborhood, you don't even have time to go to sleep because you're constantly working. You can't enjoy life. You're just paying bills, paying this, doing that. All that fun that you had when you was a kid, you already had it. Later on in life now, as you're getting older, maybe your health is not where it needs to be. Maybe your fitness is not where it needs to be. You're always tired. You want to come home, the first thing you want to do is just sit down, put your feet up, turn on the TV until you go to sleep. And that's your Monday through Sunday. Each week, Wash, rinse, and repeat. What type of life is that? Then you're looking vicariously at your phone, wishing that the life that you see other people living, you had, the places, the experience, but it's outside of your reach. Why? Because people that really work hard and master their craft, they put in a lot of time, they put in a lot of effort in order for them to be where they're at. It is not easy. People want the financial reward, but you don't want to put in the work in order to get that. You'd rather go to the store, scratch off a lottery ticket, and boom, you win it all, and all that money's in your account the next day. For the majority of the people, it doesn't work that way. When you realize that, it's going to take consistency, it's going to take discipline, and trusting in God that He's going to make it happen. And most importantly, the thing that binds it all together is faith. Because if you don't believe that you can achieve those things, it won't happen. Because what if after a week, a month, a year, it didn't happen? You don't see the results that you was expecting. You're going to quit. Or look at it this way. When a farmer plants a seed, he doesn't go outside and dig up the seed and look at it, see if it grew. He understands that with certain things, depending on what it is, it's going to take time. But as long as he goes out there daily, make sure that the seed is watered, receiving enough sunlight and other things that it needs in order to grow, eventually, not because of things that he have never even experienced before outside of that context, he can look around the area and see that other crops that went through that same process had that same type of efficacy or result. So if he follows that same process, he should technically, right, get that same result. But a lot of people don't look at it that way. They just think, oh, I can't do it. You have such a negative perception of yourself that you can achieve certain things. Well, why not you? You're not different than anybody else. I'm not different than anybody else. The difference is mindset. Do you want to do it? Now, are you going to have to wake up a lot of mornings, maybe an hour early to get your day started because you're going to have to put in extra work in order to see your dreams come to fruition? Of course you do. There's going to be a lot of nights where everybody in your house probably going to sleep at like 10 o'clock or so, and you're going to have to stay up until 11 to 12 o'clock in order to get in more work, because what you're trying to get accomplished, it requires that level of sacrifice. That's fine. Yes, it's going to happen. It's no difference if you're working out, you're trying to lose weight. Don't you have to sacrifice the level of calories and stuff that you was eating before and a certain type of foods? Of course. But is it doable and achievable? Yes. And then you're going to realize, guess what? I can do it. That first week or two, is it going to be a struggle because of its transition? Yes. But guess what? After a weekend, 2 weeks in, you just trained your mind to start doing things differently. And that's going to become the new norm. You're going to realize that there are mental programs you have running that wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. Then you're going to get rid of those programs and you're going to install new ones. When you realize that you have a mental virus and that thing needs to be taken out, then you're going to do everything in your power to make sure that the way you think is optimized for the type of result that you're trying to achieve. And you're going to avoid at all costs certain type of content, people, or situations that's going to affect the way that you think. Because a untrained mind, out of all the things that we possess in life, that is the most important thing. You cannot let anything influence the way you think, because that affects your emotions, that affects your faith, that affects every aspect of your life. The time you're willing to put into study, the time you're willing to sacrifice to get other things done, it all starts here. How many times your mind or your thoughts tell you, oh, I'll do it tomorrow? Because that's always been your modus operandi, pushing things off. But what if you start saying, you know what, I do feel tired. Just try this. Yes, I feel like going to sleep right now, or I'll do it later. Instead of doing that, put aside 15 minutes and say, you know what, let me just 15 minutes and just see what I can get done. You might not finish the whole thing. 15 minutes. Then after a while, increase that 15 minutes to 30 minutes. Slowly build that up until you get to the point that thought of even taking a break, it doesn't even come across. You just look at objectives and tasks that you have to get done throughout the day. And when you get those things done, when it's accomplished, then then you can reward yourself with resting or doing certain things that you need to do. You have to be intentional with your day. Like tomorrow's Sunday. Before Sunday already hit, you already know your alarm clock should have you up at this time. You're doing this. For me, I get up there at 5 o'clock in the morning. I go and do my hour walk. I get back, take a shower, get the kids' clothes ready so we can be up by a certain time and we can be out the door by a certain time. When I get back from church, I know I have editing to do. I know I have to go to the gym, and I have other things on my plate that I have to get accomplished before I go to sleep around the 10 o'clock at night. So I can't really be dragging my foot and getting certain things done, because if I want to be consistent at putting out content, or if I want to be consistent in taking care of things for my business, I can't just when I feel like it. That's not even something should be part of your character or your vocabulary when you feel like it. Do you understand certain things must get done? And if it doesn't get done, it's going to affect certain outcomes that you expect. Because in life, you reap what you sow. If you want to reap consistency, you're going to have to sow consistency. If you want to reap love, hope, optimism, faith, those are the seeds that you're going to have to sow. But if it's always making excuses, if it's always pointing the finger, you can't be upset if you went out into a field and you planted a certain type of seeds. And then when you went out there the next morning, it was just a whole bunch of weeds in the field. And then you ask yourself, well, that's not what I was expecting. No, but that's what you planted. So what you think was going to happen? You don't need other people to come in and necessarily save your situation. If you want people to help you along the way, they have to first see that you have the right mindset because the right mindset also affects the type of work habits or work ethic that you have. And when people see that you're a go-getter, they don't have a problem investing in you and helping you. But if you always a person and they get the impression that you like to leech off of people, you're lackadaisical, you're lazy, it's just not going to happen. So remember, guys, change your mind, change your life, better outcomes. Until the next time, reset.